This is a 1927 Brough Superior SS100, and what you see here is a tool room recreation. I've got quite a long history with Broughs. I've made parts for them in the past, 20 odd years. We built this from the ground up, did have a frame and an engine and a few other bits and bobs, set of forks that I'd built previously, but none of it fitted together and most of it wasn't usable. So we commissioned a new engine, we took the frame apart because it wasn't built correctly and rebuilt that, and basically the majority of it is hand built in the workshop. I've learnt that no two were ever the same. I've learnt that George Brough was a fantastic designer, along with his people who work with him. I've learnt that they're a custom bike, really. They're not particularly, especially this era, they weren't a production bike, they were built to order specials. When you take on a project like this, there's a lot of stop-starting, there's a lot of picture studying, there's a lot of talking to other people, there's a lot of museum visits, and then once you've kind of done your assessment of the project, you really have to tie in where you want it to go, which particular model, because across the board, even with the Broughs, even across the years, they were different, and they had a very different style. Some were very vintage, some were cutting edge, sporty. Details like balanced mud guards to make them a little bit more coach built, or you can have sports mud guards, high level exhausts. There's so many things you have to really nail down. Once you've got all that nailed down, you've then got to make it all fit together and look right, and that is not an easy thing to do. Craftsmen of that era, unbelievable. The aesthetics crossing over with insane performance. I mean, a 100-mile-an-hour motorcycle in 1925, which was when they started building the SS100 model, was just insane. You really get inside their heads and you read stuff about what Ike Webb was doing with the chassis components and what Bert Levac was doing with the engine components and tuning, and it was just insane. And not only that, I mean, George Brough, he went out and he rode these, he tested them all to 100 mile an hour and he crashed them and he injured himself, and it was just, yeah, it was an impressive thing, Every day that I come into the workshop, I am celebrating craftsmanship all the way down the line. Everything that I see or touch in this workshop has some element of craft in it. With a bike like this, there's nowhere to hide. You can see us riding it in the raw. I really stuck to my guns. The client didn't always agree with where I was spending his money, but it was really important to me that that bike would stand up as a modern day motorcycle. So we redesigned the brakes, we changed how the cams worked inside the brake shoes. We cast the brake shoes ourselves, we had them done locally in high grade aluminium, and we had them modern materials bonded onto them, and then we skimmed them all, matched them all to the drums so you could get the best you possibly could out of those brakes. We've had modern oil pumps made for the engines to keep them as reliable and replaceable, so there's we've always got like a spares backup for them, which is one of the things that put people off about these vintage motorcycles of this era and the value. This bike we built so that it has a spares backup and traceability. So the Magneto is a BTH, it's brand new, it's got an electronic ignition inside it so that it's reliable. Same with the rest of it really. We built it so that it can be ridden, so that you don't have to worry about it. So it's a proper working motorcycle. When we completed it and I took it out on the road, I was immediately blown away by how well mannered it was. When you get on a motorcycle of this size and capacity, 1100cc, 48 brake horsepower, something crazy for that era, your heart's in your mouth. You spent 5 years putting this thing together and going through all the trials and the tribulations. But I was surprised. It was just docile. It felt docile and easy to handle and just unbelievable. The feeling of getting on a motorcycle that you have stared at and you have laboured over and you have tears in your eyes over the fucking thing. To succeed in something like that, it's just, yeah, fucking fantastic feeling. This bike's an icon because of pure aesthetic, design, cutting edge, engine technology. He pushed the envelope. He made the best brakes, the best engine. He put it all together in the most beautiful package, He made it go 100 miles an hour and he shouted from the rooftops about it, and he had every right to. It's an iconic motorcycle, whichever angle you look at it from the inside out, top to bottom, amazing. When we finally got the paint and the nickel plating back and we bolted it all together, and after the long journey we'd been on building this bike and walking in the shoes of George Brough, you know, it was a massive privilege to do the job, and to see the result at the end was just unbelievable. It's really hard to put into words.